I didn't remember we were going to do that this month. I want to be more like. What a great way to start the year, yes? Beginning to visualize what you want. Notice that song did not say, I don't want to be like. There's a lesson in that, and we're going to talk about that today. The lesson goes like this. The more I identify what I want in my life, the more that shows up in my life. And the way we get that way is we find those affirmations that work for us, those affirmations that identify who we are. Let's take our affirmation together. I am a child of the living God. I have within me the all-creating power of the Christ. It radiates from me and blesses all whom I contact. I am now in the presence of pure being and immersed in the Holy Spirit of life, love, and wisdom. I am now in the presence. I believe in you. 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 Lord, I trust 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 in you. I am made 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 in you. I believe. With each breath I take, I trust. I have faith. Gently and easily, effortlessly. In this moment, I choose to move to that place in consciousness that is my secret place, my inner chamber. And here I close the door. I close the door on all those thoughts and feelings of what I should have done, on those thoughts and feelings of what I have yet to do this day, and for one holy moment, I rest. Here in the stillness and the silence. I affirm my oneness. Here in the stillness, in the silence. I acknowledge that I am a channel through which good works. Here in the stillness, in the silence, I know, regardless of appearance, I am there. Having stilled my body and quieted my mind, I listen. In my prayers, I am learning to ask. Here in the stillness, in the silence, answers come. With each breath I take, I affirm life. With each breath I take, I breathe in the truth of who I am. And here in the stillness and the silence, I affirm that as I exhale, I let go of those things that no longer serve me. Here in the stillness and the silence, I am blessed. Here, that which I need in this moment is given. I am blessed. Here, in the stillness, in the silence, all that comes to me wrapped in love. I am blessed. This day, in this moment, I choose to claim these gifts as mine. I reach out and embrace them. I immerse myself in them, each and every cell of my being is re-energized, revitalized. I allow this energy, this flow, to move through me, from me. These thoughts and feelings come together in this place and join with other thought of like mind, growing in strength and in power here in the stillness and the silence. We are lifted up. This flow of oneness, of goodness, touches each and every child of God. I am blessed. The flow continues from this place, across our city, across our state, touching each and every one of God's children. We are blessed. Goodness continues its flow across our country, touching each and every one of God's children. We are blessed. And so this flow continues across our world, throughout our universe, touching each and every one of God's children. We are blessed. Here in the stillness and the silence, we affirm, regardless of the appearance, I am there. Knowing the truth of us, that we are never separate one from the other. We know that somewhere, someone is saying, thank you, thank you, thank you, for in this moment, that which I needed is freely given. I am grateful. And that gratitude swells up and returns to you. The circle, the cycle of life is complete in this moment, here in the stillness and the silence. I allow this flow to continue with each breath I take. Knowing there is more yet for me to do this day. Holding to this experience we have shared. I now gently and easily, effortlessly bring my attention back to this now, to this place. And I join with you as we pray, as Jesus, our elder brother, has taught us when he said, "Pray therefore in this manner." That's the warm-up drill. What are we going to talk about? I don't know. Sometimes that's what it feels like, isn't it? New year. What does that mean? A mark on a calendar that we created. New time. A mark in thinking that we created. If I create it, then I have the power to change it. And here's why. Any law that is a law is true, no matter how it works, in both directions. Let me give you an example. How many of you heard this? You can't get something for nothing. How many of you believe it's a true statement? You should. It's true. But the converse is also true, and we forget that. And that is that you cannot give something without receiving. See, the law works. And it doesn't matter whether it works here in Medford, or in Beijing, China, or in the steppes, or really far reaches of the earth, White City. The law works, yes? And that's the point. The law works. Our challenge is that we don't always believe that to be true. And so we hold on to a lot of stuff that we think is true. And then we wonder, why is this happening to me again? Well, the law worked. It's this. I'm so thankful that Steve picked this song for the song of the month. I want to be more like. I want to be more like. I want to be. What? Who do you want to be? So you all have a list, he said, raising his hand, of all the things I don't want. And I focus on what I don't want. And God loves me so much. I get what I don't want. Now, on the surface, it sounds so simple to make that shift. And on the surface, it is. It's a little more challenging when you're hauling stuff around in your bucket that you believed was the truth of you forever. I had a great discussion this morning, and I love it when people come to me and say, I have a question. And oh, by the way, I love that. I have a question. One of my teachers said regularly, question everything. Otherwise, how do you know who you are? Because it's about you. And something, you asked for stuff to show up in your life, yes? Is there anybody in this room that did not ask for stuff to show up in their life? No, we all asked for it. Now, some more loudly than others, and some are looking at our current circumstance and saying, wait a minute, I didn't ask for that, whatever that is. But it shows up in my life anyway, based on what? My thoughts and my feelings. So the question came up, did the people in the Old Testament really live 3, 6, 900 years? Or did they have a different calendar than us? Now, my stock flippant answer is nobody told them they had to die. See, we have actuaries that tell us on a regular basis, this is where you're going to die. Don't hang around until after, because you have to die. And for those of you who just retired, 18 months from the day you retire, wood this way, grass that way. Where's that written? Well, it's the statistics. Okay, I got that. Does that make it true? No. And there is the hope, there is the grace, there is the glory. It's not true. But I believe it. And if I believe it to be true, for me, it is. And so, I need to examine stuff as it shows up and say, wait a minute, what do I believe about my world that isn't true? What part of what I hear that comes into my experience can I then begin to rethink some things? Our scientific brethren are telling us today, and they're not off by far, but they're telling us today that with reasonable care, and notice the word, reasonable care and condition, this body temple lasts 120 years. Now, I don't know how they came up with that number. That's a good one. Let's use that number. But that's what they're telling us. With reasonable care and condition, this body temple, 120 years. Okay? Now, my teacher says I can make it last longer than that. How? By integrating the truth of who you are. What? When you know who you are, your world changes, and you get to decide what this body temple looks like for 300, 600, 900 years. I don't want this body that long. I got that. I heard that. What keeps you from changing it now? Try my belief system. That's what holds me to where I am, is what I believe. The two great non-truths in the world are death and both false. And yet we believe them. Why? Well, they've always been that way. Not really. But it's stuff we've held on to over the years. The one that I'm researching now, and you can help me with it. if you want to. Goes something like this. When did the act of marriage become an act of the government as opposed to the church? Marriage was, as far as I know, was done in the church. It was a religious ceremony. All my readings and writings say that marriage is a religious ceremony. At what point in our social understanding did that become a governmental project or obligation or something on the wall or whatever it is? The answer is I don't know yet, so I'm going to go look. And if you have some information that you would like to share with me, I think that would be great. See, because I think that two people committing to each other is a religious experience. A religious experience, not a legal one. Any relationship is a religious experience if you choose to think about it from that perspective, as opposed to one required by or only allowed by outside law. And I say outside on purpose. We accept it, by the way. Oh, that's the way it is. They tell us how we will live. And I go, okay. Got it. Here's the comeback. The comeback is, I'm learning to recognize what is the truth of me and begin to come from there, as opposed to those things which I believe to be true that came from outside of me that I've taken on. One of my favorites, because we just came out of the season, is Jesus as the Prince of Peace. Yes? Would the Prince of Peace write this? I did not come to bring you peace. I came to divide you. What? He never wrote that. Yes, he did. That's what he said. But you have to take it from a metaphysical perspective. The division comes this way. I have to divide you from your misbelief about what the truth is and live the truth. Because you're holding so hard and so tight onto what you believe to be true that you're missing the truth of who you are. You're so concerned about what this body temple looks like, you have forgotten to let your light shine. You are so concerned about tomorrow, you have forgotten to live today. And you're so good at what you do, you hold on to yesterday as if it were today. And live from there. What? Yeah, isn't that what we do? It's really kind of fun. In counseling, a lot of times I like to play what we call worst case, best case scenarios. If something's going on in your life, a challenge that's going on in your life, and I shared that this morning, is if you're late for work, does the world end? My world does, because I'm... Stop. Does the world end? No. If you don't show up at all, does the world end? No, it just changes. Okay. But what are you doing about it? How do you react to your world? See, you've set up parameters on yourself that are limitations by definition. One of the challenges that we have in the discussion of what God is and how we relate to our God is that by attempting to define what God is, we limit. And God is unlimited. So we use different words to try and dance around it because we still don't have the language yet to be able to articulate it well. Omnipresent is one, meaning all present. Omniscient, all the other omni words that are out there that give you an idea, but it's subject to your own interpretation of what that means. And when you suggest that the bench that you're sitting on has as much life as you do, people go, you've got to be kidding, right? The tree chose to become a bench. Yeah. How did the tree choose to become a bench? Because as a tree, I am service to my world. My job is to breathe in carbon dioxide and breathe out oxygen so that all of God's children may live a better life Thank you, God. And some that believe that grow hundreds, if not thousands of years. And others have different functions and come and go quickly. Interesting kind of perspective, isn't it? There is how many substances? One. God is all. So the very bench that you're sitting on is God in action. For purpose, for use. The fact that you are here is God in action. I'm looking for new ways to relate to the truth of who I am. That's what we're really all about, so that I can learn how to take all these thoughts of what have in the past not served me very well, but I continue to hold on to a degree, and learn how to let them go and change my thinking in a different direction. What happens to this body temple when you integrate the truth of who you are? Disintegration stops. If it's true that every cell of my being, according to our scientific brethren, this entire body temple totally replicates itself once every 7 years. Now, I don't know how they came up with that number either, but I kind of like it for a couple of reasons. But if it totally replicates itself once every 7 years, why does it keep looking like this? Oh, that's what I think. I see. That's the stuff I'm holding on to. I got that. I'm the one responsible for this. Oh, I wish you wouldn't say that. Can't we blame it on somebody? Sure, go for it. It's not true, but it's okay. It's part of your growth. It's part of your understanding. Is that how much control and how much power you have. Right? The ability to transform your world one thought at a time. One thought at a time. Just take one and say, this week, this day, this year, whatever, this is the change that I intend to make. Now, I'll set an intention. Doesn't mean I'm going to make it, but I'm going to give it a try. And I don't like that word try. I shared that this morning too. I'm a Yoda kind of guy. Either do or don't do. Trying doesn't work for me. I can be trying, but that's a mental issue as opposed to a physical response. And I hear that a lot. Rob, you're trying. Yes, I am. Mostly I say it to me. What thought can I change this year? The one that I'm working on, and I share it with you on a regular basis because it's really important for me. I don't know if it's important for you or not, but it's really important for me. And that is, regardless of what's showing up in my world, I have to get to the position where I believe that it began with a good intention. It began with a good intention, no matter what shows up in my world. Automobiles began with a good intention. Not if you're a buggy whip maker. Began with a good intention. Oh, but, and then we'll put the it's killing the world stuff over here, which isn't true either, but that's another issue. Began with a good intention. But there's still pieces of it that I need to work with, yes? Why do I need transportation to move from one place to another? Well, because I'm lazy. Right? Because the truth is, I just moved from one place to another. The only limiting factor is this. When I can move from one part of my world to another part of my world, and I see it clearly, it is the vision that I take, and I move through it that way. I get a different result. Why? There's only one, and I'm one with the one. Isn't that what we say? I'm a channel through which oneness flows. So can it be something else over there? No, it's the one. So I have to learn how to adjust, how to move through. And it's a social thing. I share this with you on a regular basis because I am in awe on a regular basis when it goes something like this in the form of communication. Those of us who have been involved in the study of metaphysics and the study of oneness realize that when I make the statement that regardless there is only one, that we are never separate one from the other, that it's not a good bumper sticker, it is the truth of who I am. And as such, There is no limitation on time or place or space or dimension. There is no limitation. Time, space, place, or dimension. I communicate with oneness. Okay? In my own personal experience, there have been a number of times when thousands of miles have separated us, one from the other. That communication was as clear as I am speaking to you today. Where did that come from? Now look at socially. How have things improved? In my great-grandmother's day, it took 6 weeks to 6 months, depending on the size of the ship, to go from Japan to the United States, to San Francisco. Okay? I flew it in 25 hours, and she didn't believe it. Now, granted, it was the end of her life, and she was still willing to float in and out of what's real and what's not before she made her transition. But she held on to that which she knew. And it was a great lesson for me, and I've never forgotten it. She held on to that which she knew. You don't go from San Francisco to Japan in hours, weeks, months. What keeps me from going to Japan right now? Only my limitations on what I believe. Ideas that come across. Things that change my world to make it easier for me to understand the truth. And the big one for me is communication. This is the first part of it. 3 fastest methods of communication in the world. Telephone, telegraph, telewoman. I didn't make it up. I'm just repeating what I heard. All right? But think about it from this perspective. I'm in trouble now, I know that. If you think about it from this perspective, we play with these kinds of things, but here's the truth, is that if you look at telephone, that's new in the history of our world. Telephone is new. Telegraph is new in the history of our world. Television is new. The ability to sit in my living room and talk to London, England, as you and I are speaking here today, is new. But it's just a new form of what? Communication. Do I really need the device to communicate? No. I need to figure out the filter. I need to figure out the filter. How do I communicate one-to-one-to-one, which I now learned how to do on the telephone because we don't have party lines anymore. Remember those? Yeah? Okay. I now can communicate visually as well as auditory. 1,000 miles, 8,000 miles, 10,000 miles away. In real time. And I can remember not too long ago when I would talk to Australia and there'd be a gap, 7 to 10 seconds. And our scientific brethren said, you will never be able to overcome that because of, and then they explained this long physics problem that made absolutely zero sense to me, but I did this because I love them. The physics have changed. If the physics have changed, then it must be a law of man, not a law of God. So if something is changeable, then that's what we put on. Okay? Why do we have a leap year? So we can adjust our calendar. Really? It's for convenience. But we have great explanations for it. The comeback is that I'm learning how to accept the explanation, but not as the truth of my being. I'm not bound to that. Yes, that's what goes in my world, but I'm not bound to it. Here's what I'm bound to. There are the 10, the laws that were given to Moses. And then there were the additions that brought by Jesus. Love one another, even as I have loved you. That other than love thy father and mother, the greatest of all the laws. So as I look around in my world, I'm thinking to me, because it's a Rob piece, what is it that I need to do? What is the comeback for me this year? What can I do more of? I talked about good intentions, beginning to think that what shows up in my world began with good intentions. There was another piece to it. And the other piece goes something like this. I need to love it more. I need to love my way through all these experiences. And I say the word through on purpose. I need to shift the thinking that says the light coming at me in the darkness is a train going the other direction, as opposed to the end of the tunnel. I need to love my way through circumstance. I need to love my way into the truth of who I am by identifying what I want, not what I don't want. So I'm beginning to change my language, and I invite you to do the same thing. It begins with an inward journey. It's always inward out, not the other way around. Begin it by doing this. I love you. I want you to say it to you this morning. Start with your name. Ready? Rob, I love you. Again, your name. Rob, I love you. Good. Now that you're loving yourself, bless you. I bless you. Together, I bless you. With loving, with blessing, I can be appreciative. I appreciate you. Together, I appreciate you. And here comes the leap. This is the comeback. I set aside all other beliefs, and as I look at the truth of who I am, I behold the Christ. Together, I behold the Christ. That's the way to start your new year. Namaste.
Thank you for listening. Please feel free to pass this message along to your friends and family. You can obtain additional audio tapes or CDs by visiting our website or by calling our office at 541-772-6902. We invite you to join us in prayer. We know that prayer works, and now you can send your prayer request to our prayer team here at Christ Unity Church by using the form on our website. The activities, programs, and services of this ministry are presented on a love offering basis. All gifts, regardless of size, are gratefully accepted. You may participate either by sending your gift to Christ Unity Church, 540 North Holly Street, Medford, Oregon, 97501, or by visiting us on the internet at www.unitymedford.org.